Good morning, curling fans. Welcome back to this, the final day of the Curling Masters here in Champéry. We're at the Palladium here in lovely Champéry for the final day. It's semi-finals time here in the competition. My name is Lorna Rettig and I will be guiding us through our featured semi-final this morning, and we've got a cracker. It is Team Schwaller from Switzerland against the final international team still standing in the competition, Retornaz of Italy. And I'm looking forward to a real corker of a game out there. Retornaz's team, only they and Dorp De Cruz are unbeaten so far in the competition, but yeah, Schwaller, they did have one loss, but they haven't done much wrong since then, so I think this promises to be a real fun game out there. We've got the Italian team playing red stones and Schwaller playing yellow, and we join them here in the first end. So that's the first semi-final out there on the ice this morning, and next door on the neighbouring sheet we have the second semi-final, and that features Team Dorp De Cruz, another familiar face, against Team Jungen, another Swiss team from Club Adelboden, who've had a super week. If you have been tuning in all weekend or keeping eyes on the scores, you will know that Team Jungen had a famous victory over Team Edin in the round robin stage. So they've absolutely earned their place here in this semi-final. They also had one loss on the way. They lost to Team Jan Hess, but they've won everything since, and they now face Team Dorp De Cruz, who is also unbeaten. They face him in the other semi-final this morning. So, two good games out there. If you tuned in last night for the quarterfinals, well, you had to be quick. There was slightly unexpected kind of dynamic going on the ice last night. There were 3 of the 4 quarterfinals finished in under an hour. I don't know if some of the teams were just getting a bit tired, or I can confirm there was nothing else. There wasn't a big party going on in Champéry that everybody was rushing away to. But yeah, there was a score of 8-1 for our featured team here, Retornaz. They beat the young team Schnider from Switzerland. It was a score of 8-0 for Schwaller against the defending champions, the Van Dorp team from Netherlands. It was a score of 6-1 for Dorp De Cruz against Edin. And the only game that really went the distance was our 4th semi-finalist, Team Jungen, and they conquered Team Jan Hess 8-3, so they got their revenge after losing to them in the round robin. So yeah, a bit of a strange session last night. Rather a blink and you'd miss it. And here we are. We started with 16 teams. We started with 4 groups of 4 teams. And here we are with the final 4 strongest teams still standing. A little bit of a reduced field this year. We'll come back to that, but because of the travel restrictions and health restrictions, typically this competition would have 24 teams, and this year 16, but I think all the teams really enjoying being able to play some kind of curling. You'll notice that we haven't really seen a lot from our friends from countries like Scotland or Norway. They've not been able to travel, and we keep saying it, but it's worth saying again that we really appreciate all of the teams, all 16 teams who put themselves out there. And if you were watching yesterday afternoon, you would have seen the end of a very fun match for a local team, Team Marietta, who made themselves available right at the last minute because we had a last-minute cancellation. Local team who really gave some of the bigger teams a bit of a scare, actually, and we appreciate them putting themselves forward last minute, and I hope they enjoyed their competition. So let's get back to this first end of our featured semi-final. You can see stones in play already. as we would expect. We know that I'm a big old fan of Team Retornaz. Not that I don't like to see Schwaller win, I surely do. But yeah, I'm happy that we finally got to catch up with Team Retornaz this season. We've been missing each other in the sense that we haven't had a chance to stream many of the Retornaz team's games, and this weekend we've got to see 2 of them. So I'm happy. I like watching this team, and I have to say over this weekend, the Retornaz rink, they have looked very solid, very, very consistent, never getting in much of a mess. And they've looked real strong contenders for this title. And as I said, over on the other rink, Dorp De Cruz, they also won all 3 games in their group. They were run all the way to an extra end by Team Van Dorp, the defending champions from last year. But apart from that, yeah, Dorp De Cruz, the juggernaut has continued moving, really. So on paper, we might think that we'd be looking at a De Cruz Retornaz final. Both of those teams, I would definitely say, have been the strongest ones in the competition so far. But Team Jungen and Team Schwaller, they're not here to make up the numbers, and they've won their way to the semi-final position as well. And I hope we will see 2 great games out there this morning. So Schwaller's team looking quite nice here. We're only on second stones, but a couple of yellows hidden there behind somewhere in between a corner and a centre guard. Retornaz with last stone here in this first end. The teams did a 10-minute practice before the start of the game, culminating in the last shot draw, and Retornaz's team were a little bit closer, and oopsie, that's a Sunday morning shot from Romano Maya. That doesn't quite get over the line. All of the stone must be over all of the line. So a let off there for Team Italy, and they will be very happy to take advantage. So that's quite unusual to see any of the teams dropping a stone short. We've been discussing a lot this weekend about arena ice, that it's a different experience compared with playing at the curling hall as we typically do. And indeed, some of the teams just taking a wee bit longer to adjust. And one of the teams who adjusted nicely was this Italian team. So that wasn't quite what they wanted, but they do have a couple of reds hanging around now. You can see smiles there. These teams play each other pretty often and they know each other pretty well. It'll be a couple of friendly games out there. If you're just joining us, good morning. Welcome back to the final day here at the Curling Masters WCT event here in Champéry. Slightly reduced field, but we've had some great curling. You can catch up with the streamed games from this weekend on this YouTube channel in the video vault, WCT TV. That's nearly a nice double from Michael Brunner. You can catch up with all the line scores from the round robin right through to the finals. You can catch up with that, look for yourself on the website, which is at worldcurlingtour.org. And you can also keep up with the latest news of the World Curling Tour on Instagram and on Facebook. Twitter not active just now. So you can subscribe here on WCT TV, click the little bell, and then you will always be reminded when curling's about to start. So this is looking a bit happier now in the first end for the Retornaz rink. They've got they've got two reds hanging around there. Schwaller will be coming a little bit concerned with reds building up. Good morning, Pamela, in the chat. If you want to join us in the chat, if you want to say hi, or if you have thoughts about this game or any questions for us, then we welcome you reaching out. So don't be shy. There's nothing quite like having nice Sunday brunch and watching some international curling. What a nice way to spend your Sunday morning. I think Joe Retornaz rather fancies there could be a double here, and we've got the big guy throwing. Arnos Mazaner will say hello and greet the teams properly in just a minute. So he's not throwing a huge weight at this. Again, he needs this red to hang around. So he does get them both moving. And he's still got those two reds hanging around, so that's not a bad result. Important is that Retornaz always has those two reds hanging around after their shot. If he wants a chance at scoring 2 points here in this first end, he needs to keep these stones in play. So that's why they're playing that nice controlled weight. Let the sweepers do some of the work in terms of keeping the line and the direction of the stone correct. You'll see that much more often these days. These top teams, they're really only throwing that huge weight when they want to clear a couple of stones out, or if they want to clear a guard. But more often they'll tend to throw a gentler weight because they really want to control where their shooter is going to land as well. So first stone of the morning for Yannick Schwaller. Romano Meyer signalling to Vice Skip Michael Brunner the speed of the stone. So I think Romano Meyer was sweeping to encourage the curl there. It wasn't curling as much as they wanted. I think they wanted it to really roll the other way, away from the yellow that was already there, because as you can see, now there are two yellows fairly close together. And someone of Joe Retornaz's talent, he will fancy being able to remove both of those yellows with this one shot. Dennis in the chat says buongiorno. So I think we can guess which team Dennis is cheering for this morning. Another Retornaz fan out there. Do say hello if you want to join us in the chat, if you have a question or thoughts on the competitions. So has Joel made this lovely double takeout here? Sounds pretty close. Yes, he has. Great shot, Joel. No Sunday morning shot for Joe Retornaz. He opens his account this morning with a tasty double. And look, doesn't that look nice for Italy? You've got one stone right in the centre, and you've got one stone miles away, just hanging on there at the edge. I don't think Yannick Schwaller can pull off that double. I don't think there's a shot there for him. I think his best chance here would be to hit that red right next to Michael Brunner's brush, roll to the left as we see it behind the guard, and cross his fingers a bit that Retornaz can't get to the stone. So he does remove that red, but doesn't roll behind cover, and Joel will be delighted to have, for his caliber, pretty straightforward shot here, a hit and stick for two, and again, we'll see that careful weight. He won't be throwing a huge weight at this. He needs this red to hang around as well, and the ever-reliable Retornaz ring, they will be opening their account with a big score of 2, so let's see him get it first of all. You hear Simona Gonin, the vice skip, calling clean. That's typically a happy sound. That means the line's good. It certainly is. So Sebastiano Arman does a nice job of keeping it clean and hits it right on the nose to stick for a big score of 2 points. The very reliable Italian team. This is what this Italian team are really good at for me. They just consistently string together 8 good shots. And you can see the result, 8 for 8 shots. And they never really get into much of a mess. You typically don't see this team facing tons of stones in play. They keep things clean. And they've been extremely efficient when they've had last shot. They have been scoring 2 after 2 this weekend. And another bright start. So just that miss or two from Yannick Schwaller's team, and you can see the result. You don't get a chance to warm up at this level. From the first stone, you've got to be on top of your game. If you're just joining us, good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Curling here in Champéry at the Curling Masters WCT event. We are watching end 2. I'm sure they'll put up the score just shortly. We're watching end 2 of our featured semi-final between Team Retornaz from Italy and Team Schwaller from Switzerland. A nice solid score of 2 in the first end for the Italians. And over on the other sheet, we have the other semi-final, and that is Team De Cruz against Team Jungen. So an all-Swiss affair. Team Jungen having a super weekend. They got a win against Niklas Edin on Friday afternoon, and they worked their way all the way here to the semi-final. A blank end for them for that semi in the first end, and they are also in the second end now. So there's a good chance to say hello to the teams. Let's introduce them properly. Team Yannick Schwaller. Fourth and skip is Yannick Schwaller. Third thrower is Michael Brunner. Second thrower Romano Maya, and lead thrower Marcel Käufler. There we can see the teams on the screen there. And Team Retornaz. Fourth and skip is Joel Retornaz. Third is Amos Mozana. Second is Sebastiano Arman. And lead and vice skip is Simona Gonin. So 2 very familiar teams to curling fans. And now let's go back to watching them real time. And again, this is what this Italian team has been doing all weekend. They're very efficient with last shot. They're very efficient at getting last shot. Their last shot draw was, I think they were 4th overall. Mind you, Yannick Schwaller's team are no dummies at last shot draw either. But yeah, Team Retornaz very efficient at getting the last shot to begin the game. Very efficient at picking up 2 points. And then very efficient with Simona Gonin at lead. Just putting that pressure on from the first shot. So you can see 2 Italian stones already in the house. And Yannick Schwaller electing to get rid of one of them. And I think he probably wants a roll into the house, or maybe that's just about spun itself in, I think. Joel will have a look at that, and yep, it seems like that's definitely in the house. If that was a centimetre or 2 further away from the rings, then it would be protected by the free guard zone. Well, it seems there's no doubt it's definitely in the house, so he's asking Sebastiano to just remove that, and they will want to remove that stone and roll back towards the middle. I'm not sure they're going to get the roll though. Not too much. And now Schwaller has a choice. Yeah, he wants to use that corner guard. Sometimes we see teams carefully throwing up a corner guard and then kind of ignoring it for the rest of the end, which is a pity. So this is sensible. There's a couple of ways you can get behind that guard. They're doing a straight draw to make sure that stone's nice and safe. The other way to do it would be a hit and roll. You would remove a red and then roll yourself behind cover. But this may be the easier way to just do a dead draw. The teams have been caught out a little bit by the curl this weekend, so not finding the rolls so accurately. And this is coming in hot. It does hang around, but yeah, and it's nicely buried, but there's plenty of room for Italy to follow that stone. They're talking about an 11 or 12 second stone. That's a stone that would take 11 or 12 seconds to travel between the hog lines, and that would typically be 12 seconds would be just over hack weight.
Hard. Hard.
And let's see if this stone also catches that huge curl at the end. They certainly have. So first mistake there from Italy. That's what Yannick Schwaller was hoping for. That was the reason to sneak in behind that guard. And now Schwaller's got a chance to start getting yellow stones hanging around. We've seen a lot of that this weekend on this arena ice. The team's being caught out by that really fierce curl. And just catching guards when they wanted to get around the guards. All the teams, not just Retornaz this morning. Several of the teams really getting caught out by that. It's just different this arena ice, so it's a bigger space, higher ceiling, different air currents swirling around a bit. And that just changes the ice conditions a little bit. That's a pretty nice result. There you can see there are now 2 yellows hanging around. That certainly works, using that red to try to get rid of both of the yellows at the same time. You can see Joel indicating to hit that red just where his brush was. Then the red, he thinks that will go straight back onto the yellow in the back of the rings, and the shooter will remove the yellow. So this will be a fine shot if this comes off. It's the big guy Amos throwing. So yes, no sweeping is typically good. He's not far off. Oh, look at that for a shot. Bravo, sir. And Joel spotted that immediately. He saw the angles were lined up. And that little half chance for Yannick Schwaller snuffed out immediately by the ever reliable Italians. Let's have another look at this. What a nice shot this is. Exactly as Joel pointed out, hit that red, it squirts straight back, and your shooter removes the other yellow. They make it look very normal. But this is some high quality stuff out there. Schwaller has to weather the storm a little bit. Very bright start from the Italians. So that's the current situation. That was a attempted hit and roll in behind the cover, so they didn't quite find the roll again. As I said, teams struggling a little bit just to get the rolls behind cover, but I don't see any problem for Amos removing this yellow. And that red's going to hang around as well. So no big danger from those 2 reds for Schwaller. He's going to persist with trying to get one hidden in and out of danger from the Italians. The reds are building up a little bit, but Schwaller's got last stone in the second end. And as you can see, there's plenty of space, but he will be aware, certainly, that these reds are now hanging around, so they're going to have to commit to this end. Someone's going to score. I'm not sure there'll be a blank available. So we've been experimenting with our hog-to-hog timer. The ice isn't quite that fast that the stone can travel for 20 seconds and make it to the other end. This looks nice from Michael Brunner. Good scrub, boys, says Yannick Schwaller. Indeed it was. That really dragged that the whole way, and yeah, that's a nice result. So Joel has a decision. He can see probably half of that yellow. He could play a similar shot that Amos Mazzano just played, that careful wait and just try and chip it out, but this might be the easier way actually of doing it, is to use that red out front. You can see there's probably 1.5 meters, something like, between the red and the yellow, so this is potentially the easier way of removing that yellow actually. And he may even end up with 3 reds lying around. And he wouldn't really be expecting those reds to pick up points in this end, but all those reds hanging around will make pressure for Yannick Schwaller with his last stones. So Simona going in the vice skip. He has the brush down for red onto yellow. You have to be a wee bit careful the yellow doesn't squirt back onto the back red. Again, not a huge weight here. Direction's most important. It does not. And now we've got a red behind that cover, but yeah, there's space on the clockwise handle to go behind the back of both of those. And that's the right call from Schwaller. He may need to borrow some ice from the other rink. You can see Michael Brunner standing very wide there, but yeah, he's got to get around the back of everything. And this is a tricky shot. We haven't played the ice so wide out there. You can see, yeah, Michael Brunner's almost in the next sheet. And because of that, and this is true also in the curling club ice, can be a little bit frosty out there. It's typically a bit fresher because we don't use that path as much. We certainly don't throw so many stones this path as, say, up the middle. And Schwaller will be aware of that. So typically you would need a little bit more on this stone because it will be going through the frost a little bit. So the sweepers will be really keeping eyes on this new path. And yeah, we'll not be sure how it curls it all the way out here either. So he put a bit too much beans on that. He was maybe conscious that it was fresh out there, maybe a bit frosty, and actually overthrew it. You can see the line was pretty nice. If that had been a little bit kind of 2 meters, 3 meters shorter, you can see that it probably would have got in behind the guards there. And now the decision is, where do we put this shot if we're Italy? Where do we put this final red shot to make Schwaller's life as difficult as possible? So again, Italy won't really be expecting to score here. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to put as much pressure as possible on Yannick Schwaller. Schwaller's going to have to draw with his last shot anyway to try to pick up 1 point, and they're just trying to make that as hard as possible. So decisions made. They will want it somewhere in the front of house. They won't really want this on the tee line, otherwise that's actually an easier shot for Schwaller. He would then just come and hit it. So yeah, looking a little bit shell-shocked at the moment, Team Schwaller. They need to weather the storm a bit. They need to pick up 1 point in this end and steady the ship. Get some confidence, start throwing 8 nice shots together. Because that's exactly what the Italians do. Again, you can see the Italians never in trouble in this end. Again, we can see the sweepers constantly looking up. So that just drops a little bit short, but like I said, that's a better idea than if it was too long. So if that red that Joel just threw, if that was a bit longer, a couple of meters longer, if that had landed on the tee line, that would be an easy shot then for Yannick Schwaller. So as we were talking about yesterday, the tolerance for that shot, the miss on the professional side was definitely a bit shorter because that blocks Schwaller's path on the counterclockwise handle. So Schwaller drawing against 3. He just has to be in the 8 foot, the white circle. He's surely capable, but drawing against 3, never easy. So he's giving it to the sweepers. They will be eyes like a hawk on this one. This has to get there. Looks pretty nice. Yeah, the sweeper's really keeping an eye on it and just helping it to the end. Great shot, Yannick Schwaller. That was a real pressure shot. If that had gone wrong and Italy had picked up 3, that would be almost a game over here in the second end. So really nice shot there from Schwaller. Score now 2-1. Let's hope that steadied the ship a bit. The Italians, as they've been doing all weekend and all season, just steady, steady, consistent play. They really maximise all their strengths, this Italian team. They've got great communication, super sweeping, and they're all, of course, very talented throwers as well. So Schwaller's team maybe a little bit behind in this game, chasing this game a little bit, but hopefully that point on the board has steadied everyone's nerves a little. Everyone's still smiling, that's nice to see. These teams play each other very often, so they know each other pretty well. And I can update you on the semi-final next door, which features Peter De Cruz against Jungen. And that was a 1 for Peter De Cruz, with last stone in the second end. So De Cruz is 1-0 up against Jungen. Again, that guard just dropping a little bit short for Schwaller. And that's so long that it may not be too much help, to be honest. We started out with 16 teams in this competition, slightly smaller field than normal. In the past years, this is a big competition. It's a big prize for the winner, and yeah, in previous years there have been 24 teams in this competition. Not possible this year because of travel restrictions and health restrictions. So we had 4 groups of 4. The top 8 teams overall, they played the quarterfinals yesterday evening. And now we have the 4 strongest teams still standing here in the semi-finals. But it's a big prize, as I said, for the winners. The team who wins the final this afternoon, they will get a prize of 8,000 Swiss francs. The runner-up will be able to console themselves with a cheque for 5,000 Swiss francs. The other 2 semi-finalists here, they will go home with 3,000 Swiss francs. And all the quarter-finalists from last night, they pick up a prize of 1,750 Swiss francs. So, as I said, very attractive competition. Definitely worth working hard and making the quarterfinals. That would just about cover your next competition if you made the quarterfinals here and won almost 2,000 Swiss francs. So here in our third end of this featured semi-final, Retornaz of Italy against Schwaller of Switzerland. You can see that yellow guard is just a bit too long because there's plenty of space for Simona going in to come round and just chip that yellow out with a bit of help from Sebastiano Arman. But could still be useful. I like this call. Schwaller doesn't have last stone in this third end. Italy has last shot again. As we said, that front yellow just over the hog line, it's a little bit too long, but he's now thinking of using that red in the front rings more like a guard and asking Romano Meyer to go round the back with a pair of them and start getting play towards the centre that way. This looks pretty nice. Lovely shot, Romano Meyer. That's exactly what they needed. Look at that. Perfect. Now that yellow is coming into play, that yellow guard that's just over the hog line. You can see that's blocking that path. Joe recognises that he can't play red onto yellow because that big long yellow just over the hog line, that's in the way. So what he's asking Sebastiano to play instead is just to move that red and just be playing gentle weight, sort of T-line weight, just to split the red so that red will move left, the shooter will move right, and then there should be a path to the yellow. Italy have last shot in the third end, and they want these reds to be hanging around. Well, this is a different way of getting there. That was a nice plan B. That wasn't quite what they wanted. What they really wanted was those two reds going one left and one right. But that works. That's moved that yellow off the middle. And now Schwaller has a decision. Depends a little bit in this end if Schwaller is aiming to try to steal the end, so try to score a point without last shot, or whether they're maybe said to themselves, let's just try to force Italy to score only 1 point, and then Schwaller would have last stone back in the fourth end. So I'm not quite sure what the plan is at the moment. It looks like they're going for the steal because they're putting another stone in play, but this is, gosh, that's caught a huge curl. And that was about 5 meters short. So nothing very much to cheer with that shot from Romano Meyer. He's had a bit of a slow start this morning. And now that gives the opportunity. That gives an opportunity back to Italy now. And this is wise play. Yesterday we saw a couple of teams, particularly the younger teams, we saw a couple of teams, they would kind of get sucked into this race to the middle. But Joel's far too experienced for that. And this is exactly the right call. Is these yellow guards in the middle, that's just going to make their life difficult. Oh, he just misses getting the pair of them, but removes one at least. And indeed, Schwaller is trying to do the opposite. They're quite happy to clutter at the middle. This is an end where -1 isn't the end of the world for Schwaller. It looks like they're trying to steal, but if they have to, then giving a 1 to Italy and getting last stone back again for the fourth end, that's not a terrible result. So Pavel has noticed that indeed the colours of the names on our little scoreboard up in the top of the screen, they are the wrong way round. It's actually a little bit difficult to fix that real time, Pavel, so sorry about that. It is a little bit confusing, but the number's correct, and that's the important part. And you heard a sigh from Team Schwaller as they could see exactly what was about to happen. They could see the risks from that shot, and indeed it ended up removing their own yellow, and now there's 2 reds lying around. So this is interesting. So the last stone that Italy had, I was saying that Italy was not getting drawn into this chase to the centre, but now that that yellow's gone, it may make more sense to play towards the centre here and consolidate the red that's already there. Everyone coming up for a bit of a committee meeting.
Sì, no, noi dobbiamo entrare sicuro qua, eh. L'unica cosa... No, sicuro qua.
No, gioca sicuro sulla SUI. Magari rimane.
Questo secondo me è il tiro. Cioè qua no, non penso che ci porti niente.
As I said, this Italian team very efficient when they've got last shot. They've really been picking up twos when they've had last shot. And that's what they'll be thinking of just now. Unlikely that red at Joel's feet. It's a little bit unlikely that will come into play later. But it's handy to have it hanging around.
A freeze interno, senza rischiare di prendere la guardia.
You can hear much shouting from next door. And that was indeed a very nice shot from Team Jungen. I can update you what's going on over there. They're just at the last shot or last skip stones of the third end. And Team Jungen lying quite nicely over there. Not an easy game this morning for Peter De Cruz. Back here in our featured game. That was the decision to put another red in on top of the red already there. Now that there isn't a yellow behind those centre guards, now it does make more sense for Italy to use those instead. But this shot is very makeable. The yellow next to Schwaller's brush. Asking Michael Brunner to hit yellow onto those two reds and try and spring those, if not out of the house, then at least off the centre line. Really reliable thrower, Michael Brunner. We were saying yesterday that maybe not the most well-known player or something, but goodness me, he's reliable. And indeed, he gets everything moving. You can see, lovely shot from Brunner. Both yellows off the middle line, off the centre line. Sorry, both reds have now off the centre line, and he's got a nice yellow there in the front ring. Just a nice, quietly reliable, really strong player, Michael Brunner. And here comes another nice shot. This is a nice angle. So one goes straight out the back, and the other one squirts over. And for an encore, he's put himself behind that centre guard as well. So bravo, Michael Brunner. Great result. And now that we know that that yellow is directly behind cover, we can see what Joel's doing. I don't think that yellow's shot. I think that red on the left of our screen, I think that's still closer, it looks like from our angle. But that yellow could become a problem later. So Joel is wondering if he needs to remove it.
Puoi anche giocare run allora se vuoi. Dovremmo essere primi, sì. Ok. 12?
And indeed, he thinks he can get round and tap that out. So he's asking Amos to play 12-second stones, so just a bit quicker than hack weight. He's round the guard, really nice. And he's just squeaked it out of that gap. Great shot from Amos. And now Yannick Schwaller will be getting a little bit concerned because there are three reds hanging around and they're miles away from each other. There's definitely a double possible, I think, on those two, the vertical double. You'll get another nice view. This is great shooting from Italy, it really is. This team, in fact, both these teams are medalists at European. Yannick Schwaller they are the current silver medalists at European level, and Joe Retornaz's team are the current bronze medalists at European. And it's the Italians who have really jumped out the blocks this morning. They would definitely be happier with where they are in this game. Oh, Yannick. I'm not sure what happened there, but goodness me, that's kind of summing up their morning so far, isn't it? Golly gosh, that could be a bit of a game changer. Bit of a rueful smile from Schwaller there. They picked up a 7 in one of their games on Friday, but not quite in that sort of form this morning. And Italy is going to, I think, put a guard on that double. And force Yannick Schwaller to go around the centre guard. Or no, it looks like Joel's drawing to the other side of the house to complete the square. And that's picked up. That's, you saw that stone just took off. That's always a pity. We don't like to see that. So, a bit of a let-off for you, Yannick Schwaller. Yeah, he's saying thank you to the curling gods. There we can see, so just as soon as Joel lets this go, so you can see it's nice and close to the centre line. He releases the stone. So there it is, right on the centre line. And then it just turns right. There you can see it just disappears off that centre line, and that's not because of the way Joel threw it, that's gone over a little speck of dirt or something. So a huge let off for Schwaller. He can have another go at this double takeout. And maybe the curling gods were a little bit disappointed in the quarterfinals last night as well, so they decided to give Yannick Schwaller a lifeline, keep them in the game. Important that he gets something with this. And he has got the double, so well made there, Schwaller. But he's still looking at losing 2. You can see that red is already closer, the one next to Simona Gonen's brush. So no need to do anything about that yellow. That yellow was just damage control. That's the best really that Schwaller could do, was just remove those 2 stones. And a straightforward shot this should be for Joel. He just needs to beat that yellow stone and they will score 2. So there you can see Amos being really careful now. They don't want to pick up again the stone going over something. So let's see the hog-to-hog time. So normally for T-line at this level, maybe about 14 seconds between the hog lines would be about typical. So 13.1, but I haven't been timing the stones, and actually, yeah, they've got it perfectly. They know the stones and the ice better than we do up here. So 13 seconds hog to hog is just right for T-line. So again, a nice solid score of 2 points with last shot for the Italians. Very typical scoreboard for them when they've put that 2 up. They have been so strong this weekend, very consistently picking up 2 with their last shot. And yeah, Team Schwaller has a bit of work to do here. The curling goes through them a lifeline in that end. They were about to lose 3, if not more. So still smiling. Team Schwaller, and they're champions. They know how to dig themselves out of a tough situation, and they're going to have to do that this morning.
Okay.
Now, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm not completely sure, but I think next door, it looks to me like
13,5.
Team Jungen from Adelboden, I think they have just put up a 5 against Team Peter De Cruz. And I bet that Team Peter De Cruz can't remember the last time anyone put 5 past them. Team Jungen really having the tournament of their life out here. They've already dispatched Niklas Edin. That was a 7-0 or 6-0 against Edin, and yeah, they have just put up a 5 on the scoreboard against Peter De Cruz.
All right.
And they're having a happy start in this 4th end as well. So the curling gods really toying with us this weekend. There have been some spectacular results. Good morning, Jason Sheffield. Big curling fan, but doesn't have a curling club near him in England. It's not such a big sport in England, but great to see you, Jez. If you want to say hi or ask us a question, or if you have thoughts, there's certainly plenty to discuss about this competition, then do get in touch on the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Back here in our featured game, Team Retornaz against Team Schwaller. Schwaller has to be aggressive, so they put up the corner guard, and now making use of that corner guard. I think he's going to end up with a double guard, but that's not a bad idea. And you can count 1, 2, 3, 4 stones, so in the new 5-rock free guard zone environment, Italy not allowed to remove those guards yet. We need to wait for 1 more stone.
Sì, lo so. Adesso questa non ce l'ha facile al momento.
And now they have to decide what to do. In the old days, in the 4-rock free guard zone, Italy would just start removing those yellows immediately.
No, nascosto no, non è primo. Ziemlich genau wie der zweite. Ihr beide genau gleich. Sì. Ihr noch Kopf. Du musst dich genau der gleiche Spieler voll so.
So decision made for the second thrower, Sebastiano Aman. I'm not quite sure what the decision was. They may be putting another red in behind that cover.
Spazio. Descendere.
The Italians are 3 points ahead. They don't really need more guards, so yeah, I don't think they wanted this short actually. I think they really wanted another red in behind, so a little bit of a half shot from Sebastiano there. That maybe lets Schwaller, gives Schwaller a bit of a chance, a chink of light. Retornaz doesn't need to steal this end. They don't need to score. They just want to make sure that Schwaller's life is difficult. They don't want yellow stones building up. And yeah, interesting situation going on next door. There were certainly a lot of stones in play in the 3rd end in the game of Peter De Cruz against Björn Jungen, but is at the far end from my perspective, and I don't have my glasses on, so I couldn't quite see a 5 building up, but that's what happened. Team Jungen have put up a 5 against Peter De Cruz. They lead that game 5-1. And let's see how the indomitable De Cruz rink responds to that. I can't remember seeing a 5 against them. And yeah, let's see how they respond. Pretty unusual situation they find themselves in.
Hard! Hard! Oh. Kelly.
There you can see that little half shot from Sebastiano, that red guard. Imagine if that wasn't there now, and you can see that situation would be much happier for Italy. They don't want to get involved with guards and giving Schwaller places to hide behind cover. Italy doesn't need to score this end. They're +3 already. Schwaller's team really just need to keep their heads in this game. The Italian team are relentless. But yeah, that's kind of summing up their morning a little bit as well, isn't it? Just catching a lot of that guard and now putting a centre guard, which is exactly what they don't want. So again, Joel has a couple of choices. Yeah, he could start removing those guards, or they say, oh, okay then, if we're committed to having the guards out front, we're probably not going to be able to remove all of them. And indeed, if Amos can swing another one in behind those guards, yeah, you can see that they don't look very happy, Team Schwaller. They're making their own life a bit difficult. The Italians are relentlessly putting pressure on, but yeah, Schwaller's team not quite up and running at the moment. You can't be in top form all the time, as Peter De Cruz also seems to be finding out next door. Schwaller must be asking himself when the Italians stop being in top form. They've really only had just a couple of half shots all game. They're not missing much. And gosh, look at the mess of that. If you're yellow, how are you even getting one stone in at the moment? Never mind trying to get more than that. Whoever wins these two games, they will compete in the final at 12:30 here, European time. If Schwaller's team don't start pulling out a few good shots, then we could already have a finalist. This looks a bit happier, but no, it's going to overcurl a little bit, I think. He really wanted to get a little bit less of that red stone. The point was to set that yellow up next to the red stone, that he could then use it later. But I have an idea, yeah, look, he can't really see much of that yellow stone anymore, and indeed Joel will be quite happy to just block that path now. Schwaller's life not getting any easier. De Cruz's team also looking a little bit shell-shocked next door. Much French shrugging of the shoulders. This looks nice from Amos. He's got such a range of shots, Amos Mozano. We've seen him throw some absolute screamers. He's got a huge throw when he needs it. But, yep, nothing wrong with that shot. You can see that that's just blocked the path to the yellow that Brunner just played. And gosh, I'm starting to feel a bit for Yannick Schwaller. This is a horrible game for them at the moment. So while poor old Yannick Schwaller is racking his brain, trying to think of a way in here, we can say thanks to our sponsors there. It's thanks to them that this competition really attracts such talent as it does. Like we said, a few teams that typically would play this competition not able to compete this time. We had a couple of last-minute withdrawals from Team Niemann and Team Niemann's from Sweden and Team Stich from Poland. Shout out to them. That's a pity that we're not able to see them this time. And of course, yeah, from countries like Scotland and Norway, just not able to travel at all. But that's given opportunities, say, to Team Jungen, for example, who have worked their way very solidly all the way to the semi-finals. And we've had a chance to watch several of the up-and-coming young Swiss teams. We're used to watching De Cruz and Schwaller out here. So that moves one out the way for Brunner, but yeah, I'm not sure that really helps him. The problem is it doesn't really create a space on either handle, either on the clockwise or the anti-clockwise handle. I think that was the idea, but he was definitely going for that guard first, but then I think he wanted to catch another guard, a bit like billiards. But yeah, we've had opportunity to watch several up-and-coming Swiss teams. Schwaller and De Cruz, there are teams biting at their heels who would love to represent Switzerland at the highest level. So we've been able to watch, say, Team Hess and Team Jungen out here. Schnider and Klossner, also two very exciting young teams to watch. And the young Hösli rink also from Glarus. And Team Easily as well. So yeah, plenty of up-and-coming young Swiss teams. And yeah, the space is left by some of the bigger names maybe. These younger teams then had an opportunity to play in this competition and they've grabbed it with both hands. They've really justified their position here. Got some good wins against some big teams. As we just watched Joe Retornaz pretty much put that back. He doesn't want to leave Yannick a path straight to the middle. So he just blocks that hole. Yeah, you could see there was a path through those two reds before Joel's shot that's sitting now right in the centre. There was a path to that yellow. Not sure if you could have driven that yellow that's in the 8-foot circle. Don't know if that would drive back to make a double at the angle you would be coming. But anyway, that shot's not going to work anymore. And yeah, I think this is kind of Yannick's only shot here, is to drive that yellow next to Michael Brunner's brush, drive that straight back onto the red that's in the 4-foot circle. So let's all get behind Yannick Schwaller, because I don't think this game is going to go on much longer for them if they can't get something out of this end. It sounds like he's close. Oh, that's a great effort, Yannick. That's exactly what he was aiming for. He just needed to have a slightly different angle for his yellow to then stick around. And as you can see, that red is still lying short there. We get a nice overview. Much noise next door. And I can tell you that Benoit Schwartz is about to draw against 4. Not sure what's going on out there this morning, but some rather atypical results. And even yesterday, we all like to watch Niklas Edin's team, and we're very grateful that they made the effort to travel to this competition. But yeah, they didn't have a happy weekend. They had a couple of wins, but they weren't as dominant as we're used to seeing them. And actually, yeah, the only big team who has been absolutely reliable all weekend is the one you're looking at now, is Team Joe Retornaz of Italy. They've hardly faced a single sticky situation. It's about their first mistake, though. That just ran on a little bit too strong there from Joel. They wanted that a little bit shorter to block that path for Schwaller. And now with last shot, there's definitely a path in there for Schwaller. He needs to get to the 4-foot circle. And this isn't quite a game-saving shot. If he misses this, he's only losing 1, and that would make the score 5-1. But you really can't let this Italian team get that far away from you. We're already in the 4th end, and yeah, Schwaller really needs to steady the ship and make this shot. The ever-reliable Benoit Schwartz did make that draw against 4. So that was 1 point to De Cruz over there. So let's see, 13 seconds from hog to hog. We timed the last one. We're going the other way, so it may be a little bit different in this other direction. So it's a little bit faster than Joel's. And indeed, that's not going to stop in time, is it? So that is 1 red. And this game's starting to get away from Schwaller. I think sometimes when things start going wrong, it can be hard to turn things around. Everybody just starts losing a bit of confidence, and Schwaller just hasn't had an easy stone all game. He's been looking at the Great Wall of China in just about every end. So all smiles on the Italian side. A little bit more serious in Schwaller's camp. And if you subscribe to the theory that there's some sort of voodoo going on outside, out there this weekend, I have just seen Valentin Tanner hog a stone, i.e. the stone did not make it over the hog line. So what's going on out there?
Linea ok, linea buona. Sta girando bene, eh?
Michaela in the chat, she mentions that indeed a lot of the competitions are cancelled. The World Championship before summer that was due to take place in March, I think March or maybe early April, the men's and the ladies, I think the juniors, the mixed doubles, there was a whole bunch of World Championships were cancelled. And Michaela says, how likely is the Worlds 2021 to happen? And how important do events like this become overall? That's a great question, Michaela. I would say, it's really hard to know if the Worlds will go ahead. Because, yeah, it's just an ever-changing situation we're in just now. And if you're talking about a World Championships, then of course countries are really coming from everywhere. And if there's even one country who is still struggling with a health situation or a travel situation, I'm not sure how we deal with that in a fair way, actually. So I would definitely say I hope so. In my scientific brain, I thought it might be a rather elegant solution to pick up next season exactly where we had to stop this season. So you basically cancel a season's worth of competitions and then start again almost exactly 1 year later. And that might be an elegant solution, but it's a good point, Michaela, to the second part of your question. How important do events like this become overall? That's still being discussed at the highest levels, because Europeans and Worlds, that's how countries qualify for the Olympic cycle. The Olympics in 2022. So only 2 years away, not that far, and we've already missed 2 events. We've missed the World Championships and the European. We were about to miss the European Championships that were due to take place in November in Lillehammer, and clearly then no countries are picking up points to qualify for Worlds and thence to qualify for Olympics, and that is still being discussed at the highest level. Is how do we manage that situation? How do we keep it fair, actually, for all the countries in the Olympic cycle? I know that's not a very helpful answer in a way, but it's a good point to raise, Michaela, that indeed this is starting to make itself felt, in the sense that the Olympics is not that far away. It's only in 2022. Therefore, a World Championships in 21 is the last chance to get points to qualify for that. We'll just have to wait and see if it's possible to have a World Championships. I have to say, honestly, I was due to play in the European Championships in Norway, and I've never been to Norway, so I was certainly looking forward to it, but I must admit I'm quite relieved that it was cancelled, just because I couldn't really see how we could make it go ahead in a positive way. There were countries that were still struggling with the health situation and travel, and yeah, I just couldn't see, practically speaking, how it could go ahead. And I don't want that to happen with the Worlds next year. That's what, just under 6 months away. A lot can change in that time. So Michael Brunner looks like he's just tuckered out this morning. I think the poor man's trying everything to keep this game alive, but things not really going their way. Team Schwaller at the moment. The game's not over yet, but 5-1 against this Italian team. They're going to have to work ever so hard to get things back. And really, this Italian team, they are just relentless. They have been so consistent this season.
Oh, clean. Oh, clean, clean.
And textbook stuff from Italy. They're now just starting to remove those guards. Italy does not have last shot in this fifth end. And they are +4 points, therefore guards don't help them, and they will just keep removing them. That's a nice thing to say, Curling Nord. She says it would be nice to have me there, and yeah, but I hope one day to visit Norway, either for curling or just to see the country. That's a bit brighter from Schwaller. Really nice hit and roll. Right behind cover. Joe reckons they can see enough of it. You can just see an edge of that yellow. And he thinks that Amos can squeeze through that gap and
No,
just
è che
chip the
comunque
yellow out.
toccherai sempre qua. Quindi se giochi forte c'è il rischio che proprio allarghiamo tanto. Possiamo anche solo aprire, eh?
Sì, comunque senza capo, c'è l'11.
10 e mezzo.
Hard! 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 Tira!
Ooh, so just catching that guard, and that shot does kind of nothing. You can hear, yeah, Amos slapped his brush there. That was a disappointing. He didn't really get one or the other. The professional miss for that shot was to move the guard out the way entirely, and you can see it didn't. So you can see it just touches the edge of it, so not enough to really move that guard helpfully. And he squirted one of his own out, so maybe that's the chance that Schwaller's team needs to get back into this game. They finally got a mistake out of the big man. So that yellow's still looking quite nice in there, half hidden in the corner guard, and here's an opportunity to get a second yellow in. Schwaller with last stone in the 5th end. That's a nice shot. That yellow really safe in front of those reds. And that's the idea. That wasn't a miss. That was exactly what they want. They want that yellow right in front of the reds so that it's much harder for Italy to remove. But Amos is going to get a second look at the yellow on the side. He's got it this time. That's nice from Amos. Same situation here. Italy don't need to steal. They've got those reds hanging around in front of T-line, and they are in quite a strong position actually, but Schwaller's got that yellow in. They're just about grinding out some opportunities. While they're having a think about their angles, we can say thanks to our sponsors again. That makes this a really attractive tournament for the top teams. They really enjoy coming here. We get very well looked after here in Champéry. Not just in the curling community, but the local Champéry community. Everybody's so welcoming. So we love coming here. Although Team Schwaller might disagree with me this minute. I'm not sure they're having such a happy time out there. And in the world's strangest game going on next door, where Peter De Cruz somehow lost a 5. Team Jungen has last shot in their 5th end. And Ben Rushforth and Peter De Cruz in intense conversation about where they're going to put their last stone. One stone to come from both teams over there.
Yep. Yep. Hi.
There's a nice shot. Good effort from Michael Brunner. You heard a bit of a that he didn't quite get all of them moving, but I agree. I think that's all right. I think Michael's doing his best to keep this team in the game. And now you can see the situation's looking a wee bit more nervous for the Italians. That yellow's right in the middle, but it's getting a wee bit lonely in there by itself. And you've got 2 dangerous yellows in front of it, both of which Schwaller could use. He could drive either of those yellows back onto the red. So it looks like Joe just wants to remove this yellow. He wants to make sure he's at least gets to the face to get to the nose of that yellow if he's at all outside. So if he throws his stone at all wide of Simona Gona's brush, then he's just going to drive that yellow back onto red. So he needs to be careful. The stone has to curl a wee bit. And I guess he'll be playing that nice careful weight again.
In effetti anche l'altra non è male da giocare, eh?
Sì, che sei più vicino alla guardia e meno spazi per girare. No.
Sounds like Sebastiano and Amos maybe have
Sì,
alternative
e anche più
idea.
distante dalla rossa.
Ok.
Sì, giochiamo su quella, va bene.
So they maybe think this is the safer idea. We could see there were definitely dangers with the yellow on the left as we were looking at it. So maybe this is the safer one to remove. He can't really guard everything, or he can't take away all the shots from Schwaller.
Sì, siamo.
Sì. Oh.
Hide.
Vicino. Vicino. Oh. Oh, oh, giù, Rama, giù, Rama, giù.
Nice shot from Joel, nice and tidy. Just takes away the danger on that side.
Stava inciampando.
Normal the roll proberen.
So Yannick Schwaller could just directly play that yellow onto red. But then I think he's probably nervous he would leave a double takeout for Joel.
No, otticamente guardando.
Sì, però la distanza dalla rossa
No,
pazienza non è che importa, fini di davvero.
non sto dicendo distanza. Vedendoli dalla staffa, la rossa, cioè la gialla lì che abbiamo bocciato rispetto alla rossa, c'era tanto così di luce tra una e l'altra. Ok? Mentre vedendo la gialla lì e la rossa dalla staffa non c'è luce. Quindi per forza devo prendere l'interno di questa. Mentre questa potevo permettermi di prenderla anche piena. Era un po' più
We saw quite a lot of this
rispetto alla
yesterday.
rossa.
Team Schwaller having a committee meeting about every 3 stones at some point.
Comunque, sì,
Non che fosse una garanzia, però magari
però qua adesso non può fare una doppia sulle 2 rosse. Cioè la può fare, mentre lì magari faceva una doppia sulle 2 rosse rimaneva lui primo e secondo. Qua se vuol prendere il punto deve
If your
giocarsela
Italian
sua in
is good,
teoria.
then you can listen in on what Joel and Simona are thinking.
Hier mag je kaarten daar, oder?
But
Ja, dat is zo heel schwierig.
I can update you on what's going on next door. That's the game between Peter De Cruz and Björn Jungen.
Aber irgendwo da oben.
And we already have a finalist. With last stone in the 5th end, Team Jungen picked up
Dus
a
geen
3.
een shooter hebben.
So that means they have put fully 8 points past Peter De Cruz in 5 ends, which takes a bit of doing.
Liet proberen, hoor.
And that was enough for Peter De Cruz, and they have
Dove vuol giocare?
conceded the game. So we already have a finalist in Team Jungen.
ovunque in casa,
Final score in that game is 8-2.
fosse dietro da quest'altra parte. Devi metterlo meglio di loro poi, perché
So to your question, Michaela, I'm honestly not sure what was going on in that game. As I said, I don't have my glasses on, so it's a little bit difficult for me to keep eyes on it. We'll maybe see if we can talk to Peter De Cruz and maybe Björn Jungen and ask them how that game went. But yeah, indeed, Jungen having the tournament of their life so far. They're guaranteed a 2nd place finish in this competition. They had a strong competition in Adelboden, their home club, about a month ago.
En hier, gooi, Achtung, Jan.
But we've still got a game in our hands here.
In die hemmen. Oké, Achtung. Nee, zit voorbij. Cello is aan, Jan.
And like we said, Schwaller's priority here is to get another yellow in without leaving a double takeout for Joel. That's a great shot from Schwaller. You can see that red is still quite vulnerable in the middle there.
Un po' dura la doppia,
Red lies 1, but yellow lies 2 and 3.
non ho neanche guardato.
And Joel will be very aware of the danger.
Giochiamo questa.
1 shot left to come from each team.
Qua devi passare a filo.
No, non mi piace neanche a me.
Poi rischi solo di fargli questo qua.
That's exactly what Schwaller was aiming for, and he's hoping that he gets a chance to drive that front yellow onto the middle red with his last stone. So he's really trying to set himself up to have a chance to make a big score in this end and really drag back some of that
Lasciamo una
deficit.
tripla, secondo me. Cioè, se lo giochi piena. Sì, sì. Secondo me se arriviamo qua.
A me piace un po' esterno per non lasciarli giocare lo slash, no?
Bisogna vedere come arriviamo con l'angolo, perché se arriviamo tipo solo qua o qua. Appunto.
So the brothers Jungen looking quite pleased with their morning's work so far. And Mark Pfister and Simon Gempeler, they've got a final coming up at 12:30.
Andiamo così. What'd you say?
And Peter De Cruz's team looking a bit bewildered, as I think I am as well.
Sì, Ghiaccio va bene.
Sì. Giochi backline, eh? 9. Backline.
I think Joel is maybe just trying to bump that front red a little bit further in to make sure that Schwaller can't get rid of both reds. That would be a nice, very nice shot. He knows that Schwaller's last shot is to drive that yellow in the front 8 foot. That's Schwaller's shot all day, and he's trying to make that as awkward as possible, that he can't remove all the reds.
Linea.
Sì. Linea. 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 Devi andare.
Bomba linea!
Che hai? Ancora, ancora, di più, di più, di più, di più.
Tira!
Ancora, ancora, no. Ancora, di più, di più,
They
di
need
più,
a
di
big
più, di
sweep
più.
on this.
Continua,
They got it round the
continua.
guard, not quite. So that didn't quite work out. Joel didn't manage to push that red any further in, and now this shot is very much available for Schwaller. He's got a shot to make 3 points here. So they've been really clinging on to this game, and now that patience has been rewarded. They've weathered the storm, and he's got a chance to put 3 up on the board.
Forse. Non è neanche facile.
No, non era facile.
Yeah, Joel,
Non sapere quanto finire.
a bit disappointed with that, but this has been a much better played end from Schwaller. You can see what happens when they do play 8 shots consistently. They give themselves a nice chance like this. So Romano Meyer seems to think it maybe needs a wee bit of help.
High! High! Vite! High!
He's got it. Bravo, Yannick. Great shot. And that's really kept them in the game. Great effort. So, yeah, very much struggling in the first half of that game, Yannick Schwaller. And, yeah, pat on the back for the whole team. That was a really well-played end. Here we can just see that again. Just that nice, gentle way. And, yeah, that was a great sweep from Romano Meyer, because that stone really wanted to curl. Good work, Team Schwaller. That game was really getting away from them. And that's a super result. So that brings the score to 5-4 after 5 ends. So Italy won't be panicking, but they'll need to keep on their game. I think that was about the first miss we've seen from Joel this morning, and Schwaller's a champion, and that's all he needed. Gave himself the chance and took it. Phew, so lots of excitement going on in both semi-finals. If you're just joining, or if you didn't hear the news, then the other semi-final on the neighbour sheet, that has already finished, and maybe not the way you might expect. So that was Team Peter De Cruz against Team Jungen from Adelboden, and the first team booking their place in the final is Bjorn Jungen's team from Adelboden. They stuck a huge 5 on the board in the third end and followed it up with a 3 in the fifth end, and Peter De Cruz said, right, that's enough for us. There's no way back from 8-2. So first team into the final is Bjorn Jungen's team from Adelboden. And we're watching here the second semi-final.
No, giù troppo, siamo giusti.
Italy very much on top of this game in the first half. but a real gritty fifth end from Yannick Schwaller. Worked really hard to try to give himself a chance to get points back, and it worked for them. They got a miss out of Joe Retornaz finally and gave himself the chance to get back into this game with a big 3. So we can talk a little bit. Curling Nord has a nice question also about World Championships, and again, because of the situation, it had to be cancelled last year. We will, for the first time, have 14 teams, supposing that we have World Championships in March next year in 21. There will be 14 teams at World Championships. And to Brian's point yesterday, 14 teams playing each other for 10 ends. That is, gosh, that quite intimidating to think about. That does seem incredibly long. And yeah, maybe the special circumstances, you know, it's a very particular situation. It's a unique situation. And indeed, Curling Nord, that could be a nice idea, that in the round robin to play 8 ends and in the knockout stages to get to 10. That could be a nice chance to try that out. Circumstances would have imposed it this time, just because, yeah, we have an extra team, so to say, in the World Championship, and yeah, that could be a nice, elegant way of managing that unique situation, to say, let's play 8 ends in the round robins and maybe 10 ends in the knockout games, and then we could see if that works, and if it does work, then maybe we have an answer to our question that we were discussing yesterday. Should we adjust the play in general to perhaps 8 ends in round robin and 10 in the knockouts?
Hold there. Nein. God freeze. Doch, wir bounce. Nein.
And if next year's Worlds can't go ahead, and that's completely possible, then I'm not quite sure what we do. As we said, that would very much have an impact on Olympic qualification, and I'm not really sure we could manage a World Championships with 15 teams. I'm not sure we can keep storing up teams who didn't get to play and then have them play at the next World. So yeah, the ongoing discussion between now and the end of, or the resolution, let's say, of the pandemic. Now, meanwhile, in this game, that 3 seems to have cheered everyone up in Schwaller's team, and look what's going on now. Italy have last shot in the 6th end, but Team Schwaller, they've got 2 right on the pin behind cover, so this is exactly the right shot. That centre guard is not helping Italy at all. But that's a disaster. You can see everybody's shoulders kind of shrugging a bit there. So again, he kind of gets neither one nor the other. That centre guard is still there, and he actually removed his own stone from the front 8. So momentum really shifted in this game. Italy were all over this game in the first half. And as I said, Team Schwaller's team are champions. They've dug themselves out from difficult situations. And that's exactly what they seem to be doing in the second half of the game. The score is 5-4. Italy have last stone in the 6th end. And now it's Schwaller's turn to start putting a bit of pressure on the Italians. But that stone placement's not quite where they wanted. There's definitely a double takeout available to get rid of both of those guards now. So Sebastiano Arman, he's also got a big throw on him. Is he going to get the pair of them? Yes, he is. Lovely shot. And now you can see those 2 yellows are wide open, but still not easy to remove. That red behind could be a handy catcher. Yeah, just to wrap up that discussion point about 10 ends or 8 ends. Yeah, I think the vote or the decision about this, yeah, I think that has to be put off until we return to a more predictable situation. I think while everything's very fluid just now, it doesn't make sense to make binding decisions about rules, but definitely I think now's the time to try out new things. This could be a great opportunity to, yeah, try a slightly different system because of circumstance, and if it works, then it maybe shows us that that could be a way forward. We also saw in Adelboden, I'm not sure if we were trying out new things or perhaps just had a special situation, but again, a slightly fluid situation. We had a couple of last minute cancellations due to travel and so on, and in the first men's WCT Adelboden event, we had very special guests, Silvana Tirinzoni's team, the ladies world champions, who very kindly filled in at the last minute, and they got all the way to the semi-finals and lost on the last stone to Peter De Cruz. So that was a very fun situation that arose also because of the coronavirus restrictions. We got to see the ladies world champions on stage with the top men's teams. There was a whole lot of support for Silvana's team, and they really justified their invitation, and I think people really enjoyed seeing Silvana's team. They played Schwaller, they played De Cruz, and I think folks really enjoyed seeing that. So yeah, that was another new thing that we tried because of the, or arising from, coronavirus. So I'm not sure that's quite what Italy wanted. I think they caught that guard. I think they were aiming to go around it and maybe set up a red against those yellows to spring them out later. Good morning, Eddie in the chat. He says, "Go Italy, woo!" I agree with you, Eddie. If you listen in to WCT TV, you will know that I'm a big Retornaz fan. And Pavel, we have now switched the colours of the names, you can see in the little scoreboard on the top of the screen there. And the colours of the names are now the right way around for the stones. Like we said, big momentum shift here in this game. Italy pummeling Yannick Schwaller in the first half of the game. Schwaller had to make a couple of real game savers, even in, say, the second or third end. But now the momentum has really moved back. Schwaller's team ground out a huge 3 in the 5th end, worked very hard for it, and now it's Italy that's just catching guards, that's just not quite firing. And Schwaller has got to be pretty happy with how this end, the 6th end, is working for them. Marcel Keufler put those 2 stones right on the pin, and they've been guarding it ever since. Yannick Schwaller finally facing a relatively straightforward shot. I think he's had 10 circus shots so far. And finally playing a nice simple guard.
Okay, easy, nou linie super. Blijf dran, Achtung. Nee, wow, 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 af. Achtung. Recht goed. Sauber.
Nicely done, Schwaller. Right where they wanted it. And now it's Italy whose arms folded, having a bit of a think about the situation. We've really been treated to some great games for various reasons. You know, some games have been really high standards. See the Dorp De Cruz game in the round robin. That was a super game to watch. That went to an extra end. And some games have been fascinating because they maybe didn't turn out the way we expected. So we watched a Team Jungen playing Niklas Edin.
No, no, Colin.
Se anche magari rogliamo quella qualche
They
parte.
didn't have last shot
No, ho capito.
at all in the game, Team Jungen, and they stole a one every end for 6 ends
O ritorno dentro,
until
non è
Edin's team
troppo
said
vero.
that's enough. So that there are several games available in the video vault that are
Hanno un buon fisico.
very interesting for different reasons, and we're right in the mix of another really fascinating game. It's now Italy's turn to be under a bit of pressure.
Velocità era perfetta, sì.
Italy now the only unbeaten team in the competition. The other unbeaten team was the typically reliable Peter De Cruz, but they've had not such a happy morning, and they have just been dumped out by Team Jungen with a score of 8 points to 2. And Yannick Schwaller will be hoping that he can also bring to an end Italy's unbeaten run.
Vicino, Sepp. Whoa.
So important shot here.
Vicino, sì. Whoa.
It's
Sì,
now
sì, Rema, sì.
Joel that needs to steady the ship a bit.
Forte. Forti, Rema, ancora, 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 no, ancora, ancora, ancora.
He's got the guard again.
Continua, continua.
And you can see these guys just building up now in front.
Same.
Because they're playing that gentle weight, that they're trying to come around the guard and just nudge up to the yellow. So they're only playing a gentle weight. So if you do catch the guard,
Ja,
then it doesn't move the guard out the way, and you end up sitting there yourself. So that, yeah, things getting a
trotzdem.
bit cluttered out there.
Und den haben wir auch. Same spot würde ich sagen.
Sorrentina, forse ancora.
Ah, ok.
Same spot, het haar mee kunnen komen.
Quale giochiamo?
Ja, so irgendwie. Das one.
Se viene.
Aber der würde ihm gehen. Ja. Warte mal noch kurz.
Another relatively simple shot here for Schwaller. I think he might really be trying to turn the screw and put another yellow in the house, actually.
Bring je nog weer. Ja! Hi! 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 Niet daar! Goed.
No, he's just playing the guard,
Aber
and that's a great shot. Not too many choices here for Italy. There's no draw available. I think he may have to drive that red on the left of the centre line as we look at it. He may have to drive that back into those two yellows, but even then, I'm not sure both those yellows go.
Sì, già, giochiamo con quella lì. Stiamo solo cercando di pensare che velocità. Che probabilmente adesso questa avrà contatto qua.
The other option indeed would be to drive the red on the right of the centre line. The angle's easier there
Però quella è
to
l'unica
bring
che ti
both the
permette di-
yellows, but I think that's a harder shot overall.
Difficile, davvero. Ma è quella difficile che vada.
This might be a damage limitation shot, that the best he can do is lose 1 point here.
Sì, perché anche se fai fine questa, probabilmente questa viene sempre qua. Però ne nasci sempre uno.
Questa qua sì, questa qua c'è possibilità di marcare.
Secondo me dobbiamo provare comunque 9 secondi.
this one.
Yeah, there's not too much risk to tying this at least. So I think, yeah, that is the right shot to drive out both the yellows. But pretty tricky.
Ik stel me weinig gepast in vorig.
Sì, sì. Tu hai giocato il Pilli, stavano abbastanza dritte.
Real turnaround in this game. It's now Schwaller sitting pretty. And it's Retornaz who's got a big shot.
Vicino. Sepp. Sepp. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Clean, clean. Zip, 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 zip.
So worth a try. No risk to it, but that is a steal of 2 for Schwaller. So this game has absolutely turned on its head. They were really staring a defeat in the face, quite honestly, Yannick Schwaller. He had a couple of game savers even in second and third end, and now they've really picked themselves up and turned it around. A steal of 2 in that sixth end means the score is now 6-4. So 2 ends left to go. And what does Italy want to do in this end? They are now 1 point behind, and they have last stone. They maybe quite like the idea of a blank end and maintain that situation for the 8th and final end. But Schwaller, he will know what they're up to. He will not like the idea of a blank end, so he will try to force some sort of score. Schwaller would like it if he can force Retornaz to score 1, and that would make the situation 6 each. And Schwaller had hammer in the last end, so he would love it if he can force Italy to score 1 point. Nice start from Marcel Keufler. There you can see 5 points picked up in 2 ends by Team Schwaller.
Okay. Snöve di piste so. In è buona, abbiamo spazio anche. Possiamo finirla. In è buona. Come on.
But one team already booked their place in the final, and that is Team Bjorn Jungen. They had a pretty strong competition in Adelboden about a month ago, and they've continued that run here. They picked off Niklas Edin and Peter De Cruz on their way to this final.
Room. Länge ganz okay.
But indeed, yeah, Curling Nord notes in the chat that there have been quite a few blowouts this weekend in terms of the score. And it's true, sometimes favouring the more experienced team, let's say, and sometimes, for example, favouring Bjorn Jungen's team, who managed to pick Edin off 6-0.
10:30, sì.
Sì, va bene.
And yesterday evening, we were watching the quarterfinals.
Clean.
It was a very peculiar session of curling. 3 out of 4 quarterfinals were off within an hour, including a second blowout from Team Edin, who lost to Peter De Cruz. And the game we were watching, which was this team here, Yannick Schwaller, they knocked out last year's champions Van Dorp. The score there was 8-0. It wasn't quite as much of a blowout as that maybe suggests. They got one big end, and that was enough for Van Dorp in the 5th. But still, yeah, been some interesting scores. So do go and check out the scores on worldcurlingtour.org. And plenty of games for you to watch from this weekend in the video vault of WCT TV. Make sure you're subscribed to WCT TV. Make sure you hit the little bell, and then you will get updates to your phone when the curling's about to start. You never miss a stone.
Se prendiamo troppo interna abbiamo il jam. 3/4. 9 secondi.
Seventh end here in this second semi-final. Real turnaround. Italy all over the first end of the first half of this game, and big comeback from Team Schwaller. There's a nice shot, just squeaked it past the red. So 2 reds hanging around. that's a good situation for Italy. They have last stone in the 7th end. And as we said, Yannick Schwaller would love it if he can force Italy to score only 1 point. That would make the score 6 each, with Schwaller having hammer in the last end. Italy realising that this is exactly what Schwaller will plan to do. They would rather take their chance by scoring 2 in this end. That would make the score 7-6 to Retornaz. And then we would have our classic situation of one team being +1 without hammer and one team being -1 with hammer in the final end. So it looks like Italy pushing to try to score 2. I think the blank's still an option. We don't have too many stones in play. Now this game dragging on a bit. Schwaller's team are a little bit slow to play this weekend. And remember, one of these teams is going to have a final at 12:30. And at this rate, they're going to be playing pretty much back to back. Especially if it goes to an extra end, which is looking entirely possible at the moment. But this end setting up still quite nicely for Italy. They've got that second red, so to say, that one on the right as we see it. That's, they're hoping, going to be their second point, and now they're attacking the yellow shot to establish their first point. That's not going to hang around though. And it could now be time for Italy to bail out this end. They really wanted that red hanging around. Because now, as Schwaller indicates, Michael Brunner is simply going to remove that remaining Italian counter. And I think Italy may just have rolled out their chance of scoring to this end. But a blank end's also a good result for Team Italy. Then they would be the team that's -1 with hammer in the final end. So first shot for Michael Brunner in the 7th end. Picks that red out cleanly. Joe wants to remove that yellow so that, yeah, now he will probably just remove, exactly, he'll just remove that yellow. And I think not so much chance of making 2 points in this end, so I have an idea Italy will be going for the blank from here. He wants this red to hang around so that Schwaller doesn't have a free shot to just draw around the centre guard onto the middle. So he does want this yellow to go, but he also wants the red to stick around and force Schwaller to do something about it, but it's not going to, so Schwaller does have a free shot to come in behind that guard. He wants the stone to land right there where he's tapping. And there's an interesting fact from World Curling Tour in the chat. This will be Mark Pfister's 4th time in the final of this event. And Simon Gempler, he certainly does, also has numerous international medals. That's true, both Mark Pfister and Simon Gempler, highly experienced players. But there's a relatively new team for them. But yeah, they won't be intimidated, they won't be nervous of playing in a final. And they've nothing to lose. Whoever wins here will be the favourite, I guess, so to say, for the final. Team Jungen, they will probably be the underdogs, even though, as I said, they've picked off both Niklas Edin and Peter De Cruz on their way to the final. But yeah, Team Jungen with absolutely nothing to lose, playing with real happy confidence. And bit of a mistake there from Schwaller. Michael Brunner trying to get behind the guard, but dropping short, and now he gives Amos, we'll see, big weight from Amos Mozano. I think a 4-second take out there. And sends half of the players scurrying to catch up with his stones. But yeah, nothing there now, so Italy committed to blanking this end. Schwaller, he'll put something in the house. He may as well practice his own draw weight. But whatever Schwaller puts up here, even if it's a guard, Retornaz will remove it. So the only way Schwaller could really affect this end now is if he puts a guard just short of the rings, and if Joe Retornaz somehow hits that guard on the nose and therefore leaves the guard, that's really the only way that Yannick Schwaller could now affect this end. But indeed, yeah, he's just going to put something in the house, force Joel to throw a hit at it. Stone placement still important here. He and Simona will still have discussed where they want this red to roll to, or whether they want to hit it on the nose. No trouble there. And Schwaller will do something pretty similar. He'll just get another practice at his draw weight. And then Joel will want to play exactly the same again. He will want to remove Schwaller's shot, roll out himself, and blank this end.
Alles schön euch.
Whatever happens in the semi-final, we will have a new champion. As pointed out, Mark Pfister, he's played 4 times in this final actually, but with different lineup. One time with Simon Gempler. But Team Jungen, that would be a new name on the trophy, and either of these teams would also be a new name. Neither Schwaller nor Retornaz team have won this competition before.
Just clean.
Okay. Clean.
Just clean. So you'll see a heavy weight because Joel wants his stone to also roll out. And that's a blank end, no score. And Italy retained the hammer for the 8th end. So I think Italy will be fairly happy with that. That was always a good option for them as well. What they didn't want was to be forced to score 1 point and then give up hammer and have the scores level, so they've achieved that. They've still got last shot. They'll be working hard to try to generate 2 points in this last end.
Basta che ci possiamo nascondere comunque con l'altro. No, l'importante è riuscire a nascondersi con l'auto.
Eerste, we hebben 8 denk ik zit quarters, zit playoffs.
Tu che devi giocare il setup.
Posso giocare l'uno come l'altro, deve più utile in realtà.
And Schwaller will be trying to do just the reverse.
Forse con l'out, col punto riesce a entrare, con la bocciata è un po' più difficile. Proviamo l'out.
Schwaller will keep play towards the middle.
Okay.
And Retornaz's team, they will probably throw up a corner guard to try to generate 2.
Easy man, easy man, easy man, easy man.
Yep, nice start there from Marcel Käufler. That's exactly what they wanted. And I think now you will see Joel signal that, yep, can we have a corner guard on the left of the line as we see it. Italy's job in this 8th end, they will be working hard to try to generate a 2, but at the very least they need a 1 to take this game to an extra end. So they'll be trying to generate 2 really until the last shot, but they don't want to give themselves too much to do to even get 1 point. So that's overcrowded a little bit for Italy, but they can still use it. Yeah, you can see someone's not so happy with that shot. They can still use it. This is a classic situation. One of the teams is -1 point, and they do have hammer, and the other team is +1 point without hammer. And in the older rule with 4 rock free guard zone, it was pretty much 50-50 which team won from this point. I think if you're Canadian, you somehow struggle to believe that statistic, and they always wanted to have the hammer instead of being +1 without. But yeah, in the old rule with 4 rock free guard zone, it was 50-50. Therefore, it was kind of a matter of personal taste, which way you preferred to do it. In this new 5 rock free guard zone, though, that switches things up a bit. Team Schwaller will not be allowed to remove guards as they would have in the 4 rock free guard zone. So I think this might start favouring, finally, the team who has hammer. On the other hand, it forces Schwaller to play more aggressively, and maybe that starts to favour the team who doesn't have hammer. But let's see how this pans out.
Linea. Hard. Forte linea. Devi andare forte. Hard. Hard. Oh, shooter dentro.
That's an elegant idea. You can see Simona Gonin playing a little bit more than guard weight. He wanted to move that yellow off the middle line and roll in himself, so he's played that beautifully. Those centre guards are a barrier for Italy. So really nice result there for Simona Gonin. He wasn't happy with his first shot, but hopefully that's cheered him up. But that stone is in the house, so Romana Meyer being asked to remove it. He's going to get a happy roll over there as well. Nice stuff from Romana Meyer. Yeah, so at the moment, quite a lot of work to do for Italy to start building for 2. But this is the right idea. Still try to use that yellow. That's a bit of a corner guard just out the front of the house. And try to get a red safely in behind. They need a miss from Schwaller's team. If they're ever going to make 2 points, they need a miss from Schwaller's team. So they're trying to set it up to encourage that miss, let's see. Important is to start getting reds hanging around. This is not quite curling as they would have thought. And that red's going to lie open. curl has been quite difficult this weekend. We've seen a lot of teams catch guards because it over curls, and that one just seemed to sit a bit more straight actually. So you can see he didn't quite get in behind the cover, and Schwaller can quite easily remove this. Not panic stations for Italy though. They've still got plenty of space, and like we said, they'll be fighting hard to try to generate 2, but in a kind of worst case for them, well, worst case is the game finishes here in Schwaller's favour, but their plan B, Italy, is to make sure they can score 1 point and take the game to an extra end. So another hit for Romano Meyer. Very nice. You can see there's now 3 yellows lined up ahead of T-line. But yeah, this is still the right shot. Joel's not going to worry about those yellows piling up. He needs to generate 2, so he wants to get a red stone really buried and safe.
Hard. Linea ok. Va finita alla fine. Cioè finisce perfetta. Hard. Giù.
This has caught the curl a bit better, hasn't it? There, that may have a little bit of protection from the yellow on the left as we see it. Yeah, Schwaller can still get to it, but they need to be a little bit careful. Yeah, if they hit too little of the stone, then it will just squirt backwards onto the yellow. But yeah, they can see most of it. They can see all but an edge of that red, and I don't think Michael Brunner will have much trouble. And actually, if he can just sit where it hits, then that will be a whole lot of yellow that Italy is looking at. I think Romano Meyer signalling that there's plenty of weight, so they don't need to sweep it for the weight. He's played that perfectly. He's just rolled towards the middle, but yeah, pretty nice. So getting to the business end of this final end in the Champéry Masters semi-final. Yeah, and what do you do here? The problem is not really that the yellows are piling up. They're all open, and Italy can remove them whenever they want, really. The issue for Italy is that they need to start getting a red or 2 hanging around.
Terzo, sì.
With this shot then, he's asking Amos to remove the yellow and I think get a little roll behind the cover.
Sì. Oh. Vicina, vicina. Sì, sì. Hard!
So that's not a bad result. That's opened out the forefoot, which may be handy for Joel's 2 shots. They may struggle to bring that red into play, but they definitely created space, and it was starting to get a bit busy around that centre line. Still work for Italy to try to generate 2 points from here, but they've certainly got space to try to get 1 and take the game to an extra end.
Yeah, full. Lei? Good.
That's an interesting question from Jez in the chat. He says, is there a rule about hitting the ice with the broom? It's a tense game out there, and indeed, yeah, that one little miss or one half shot, that can really change the game, as we've seen. And you do hear the odd slapping of the broom on the ice. So just removing that red, Michael Brunner. No reds is no points, reds wise. And now what does Italy do? They could still do that. They could still try to get one in behind that corner guard. As we said, they'll be fighting hard to try to get 2 points until it's really no longer possible, which is basically Joel's last shot. So they may as well try to give themselves a chance, and the way to do that is to try to use that yellow guard there. You can see the one that everybody's gathered around. But Jez, to your point, not specifically is your quick answer. There is not a specific rule about hitting the ice with the broom. There's a couple of things to note about that, though. The first would be that we do tend to rely on spirit of curling, as we discussed a little bit yesterday and the day before. And so I guess you could say that, yeah, too much broom slapping. I think everybody, yeah, at this level, everybody gets a frustrating shot from time to time, and it doesn't really mean anything. You know, I don't think anybody's upset by a quick broom slap. But yeah, we do tend to rely on spirit of curling, and I think too much broom slapping, then the umpire or the competition organizer may have a word and say, can you just, you know, calm down a bit, please? And the other thing is, and I have witnessed this actually, depending on how hard or at what angle you slap your broom, you might end up breaking it. And there is a very strict rule that you must start and finish the game with the same brush. So if you have a bit of an emotional outburst and end up breaking the head off your broom, and I have seen this happen in a game against us, then you nevertheless have to finish the game with that broom. So sucks to be you at that point. And that's not what Italy wanted. And a 2 looking increasingly less likely here. And at some point Italy are going to have to give themselves space just to make an extra end. Four stones to come then in this semi-final. Team Jungen already booked their place in the final this after, well, lunchtime, in just over an hour's time actually. They'll be feeling pretty pleased. They have picked off both Niklas Edin and Peter De Cruz on the way to the final. And they've been off ice for a while now, and they're having a bit of a rest. Whereas whoever ends up coming out of this semi-final, they're not going to have very long between the end of this game and the start of the final. And if this goes to an extra end, they may just be taking a quick gulp of water and then continuing in to the final game. Four shots to come then. 2 from Schwaller, 2 from Retornaz. Retornaz with the last stone. And Schwaller in a nice position here. He can put a lot of pressure on Italy. There is still plenty of space for Italy. I think a 2 is not looking likely just now. Nice end played here from Schwaller's team again. So let's see the hog-to-hog time. We reckoned about 13 seconds was about the time it takes for a T-line. So yeah, just about spot on 13 seconds. I'm not sure that's quite where they wanted it. That's not helping too much, to be honest. It's kind of doing the same job as the stone that was already there. And now Italy has a decision. If they're still working to get two, they could play the stone that Joel's indicating. So hit and roll off the yellow on the right of the forefoot as we see it. Sneak in behind, challenge Yannick Schwaller to play the run back. The risk with this is that if this goes wrong, then Schwaller's going to block up that gap, and he can make Retornaz's life awfully difficult with his last stone. We need a really nice shot here from Italy.
Anche secondo me. Un po' di meno, sì, ne avrei dato anche un po' meno.
So let's time Joel's rock as well. We're looking for about 13 seconds with a bit of sweeping.
Linea buona.
Linea vicina.
Linea buona, un po' di spazio.
Sounds like Simona is happy with the line.
Possiamo finire giù, eh?
Yeah, weight seems pretty good. And a little bit of a sweep in behind. That's a super shot. Bravo, Joel. You can see how important that was. If he'd ever missed that, then yellow was going to just block up that hole and not leave him any path. But now, Schwaller is forced to do something about that red, or he could lose the game from here.
Mit halb ist immer okay. Bring man raus.
So that's a great shot from Joel Retornaz. That's what he's there for, to draw the forefoot in times of trouble. Big shot coming here for Yannick Schwaller then.
Na, ist hart, ja, vielleicht. So finde ich gut. Yep. Yep. Hi! Hi!
Nice shot, Schwaller. So he's removed the immediate danger.
So.
Schwaller cannot lose the game from this point. Schwaller's worst case now is an extra end. So great job there, yep. A nod and a smile from Michael Brunner.
Ja, genau.
Poco di più.
This shot from Italy then. Last shot in this eighth end. No two possible. You can see no way for red to score two. They're going to have to score one and take it to an extra end, and Team Schwaller will be quite pleased with that. It was a great shot from Joel, his first stone. But Schwaller replied with an equally good shot.
Vedo un metro in più di prima, secondo me. Come direzione è facile da gestire. Vuoi giocare più forte tu?
Stiamo valutando.
Più forte significa 10 secondi.
I think they're very cautious of the curl. We've seen quite a lot of stones over curl and catch guards, and the last thing they want to do is over curl and crash those two at the front. So everyone coming up for a bit of a confab. Yeah, there's no doubt what the shot is. They're not discussing a different shot. They're discussing the speed or the weight of the stone. If they play it too fast, they don't have so much control over the line, the two sweepers, and they risk rolling out. But if they play it too slow, they risk over curling as we've seen plenty of stones do this weekend, and crashing into those ones at the front. They're just making sure everyone's aligned in with exactly what speed of stone they're expecting. They want to get it somewhere in between those two. Not too fast, not too slow. Just enough curl to get to the face of that yellow. You can see there's that dangerous yellow on the left in the 8 foot as we see it. So Joel can't roll any further than that one.
Sit.
Oh. Oh.
Sit. Sit. Sit.
Yeah, they're very cautious of it over curling yet. Finally, that's like, okay, let's keep it clean. Very cautious of it crashing those guards. A really nicely played shot from Joel. That had to be good. As I said, that was probably trickier than it looked, because we've had a lot of stones catching a huge curl and then crashing on the front guards. And I think that shot was a bit harder than it maybe looked. So great work from Retornaz. And this semi-final is going to an extra end. Whoever wins this semi-final, they're going to have a pretty quick turnaround time. They will be back on the ice at 12:30 for the final against Team Jungen from Adelboden. And Team Jungen, they'll be delighted to see this going to an extra end, using up a bit more energy for whichever team ends up playing them in the final. So Italy starting us off in this extra end. I'm sure we all know the drill by now. Italy has to steal. Schwaller has to score. Italy will be playing towards the middle. Schwaller will want to keep the middle clear.
Finish. Linea buona. Linea buona. Occhio che non inchiodi, eh.
I can see my colleague Brian Gray in the chat. Brian was keeping us company on Friday and Saturday, and he's on his way back home now, but that was fun to have someone to chat to. So good morning to you, Brian. Thank you for clarifying about the ice damage rule. And that's if you damage it for any reason, I would say.
Yep.
So yeah, if you do feel a broom slap coming on, then my advice is to go off the ice. Great shot from Marcel Käufler. That's a tricky shot. That again, very classic shot that we would tend to see in an extra end. Schwaller's team, they can't remove that Italian guard, the red, but they can move it around. It's still protected by the free guard zone, but super shot from Marcel Käufler. He's moved it off the centre line. That's exactly what they wanted. That's all they needed. That's always a really tough shot. That we call it a tick shot. That's always a really tough one, because you need enough momentum to move it, but not enough to move it out of play. And Käufler's going to have another go at this other red. This is wise stone placement from Italy. You can see that that's exactly where they wanted it. They did it on purpose, because now that red is that bit closer to the hog line, and there's a stone either side that could potentially catch that red and keep it in play or spin it back towards the middle. So that's clever stone placement from Italy.
Se resta la teniamo, Mi sa che non va fuori.
Catastrophe, says someone. And indeed, that's not a great shot. Not so much because that red is now in the house. Nobody will really expect that red to be important at the end. But as you can see, it more or less just pushed the red straight backwards, and that means that yellow has simply replaced the red. And it didn't really remove that guard.
Non so tanto quanto ghiaccio dare di qua,
But like I said, that's a really tough shot for Käufler. That's not really that Käufler through that badly or something. The tick shot is very difficult. You can see the weight was just about backline. That's exactly the weight you want. But yeah, that was kind of the worst of all results in a way. But that guard's still there. So that maybe gives Italy a bit of a chance now. Schwaller didn't manage to clear all the guards. That's another guard there. I'm not sure if they called that as a guard or if they called it into the house, but I quite like it there. There's plenty of guards to keep Schwaller's team busy and to give Italy a chance to steal this end. So bread and butter shot for Romano Meyer, removing guards. Your second thrower, that's still a big part of their job. That's a decent effort from Romano Meyer. You can see that's cleaned up a lot of space, but there is still that one guard there. And now Italy's going to use it. And that's why I think that they did call Sebastiano's first shot. I think they did call it as a guard for exactly this reason, so that when Schwaller inevitably started removing guards, they would still have one to use. You can see Romano Meyer following the stone, and he'll be timing it himself. You'll see him click stop on his stopwatch, and he'll just be checking that the ice conditions aren't changing, because either Joel or Yannick is likely to have to draw for the game. So good effort from Sebastiano. It's not quite in the forefoot. They would have wanted it. Yeah, you can see it's just outside the forefoot. They would have wanted it just about a stone length further in, but that's not too bad. And meanwhile, Schwaller doing the right thing. He doesn't want any guards in play. He wants a nice, clear path for his last shot. So he picks off that one that Sebastiano just threw, but that's one of those shots that maybe looks a bit fancier than it is, because again you can see he has left a guard out front. And now it's Amos Mozaner's turn to sling one round that guard. Doesn't matter to them what colour it is. Important is that that guard is hanging around. So at the moment, Italy doing quite well with their plan to have a guard out front and get a stone in behind it. This looks like a nicer weight from Amos. I think this is going to reach the forefoot. Oh no, it's not actually. No, that's pulled up, but I think that's better buried. I think that's right behind the guard. Yeah, that's a nice angle there.
Jetzt, wenn wir jetzt einfach auftun, immer auftun. Ich habe immer einen Shot am Schluss. Das Stick ist gerade auch nicht gut eben. Ja, wir müssen das schon ein bisschen weiter raus sehen, aber irgendwie mit dem da kommst du auf die Story, sage ich. Ja, voll, ja. Aber die sind Konturschuhe.
Still wanted to remove this guard. This is still the right shot. I'm not sure if they're going for the run back or just the tidy removing the guard.
Oh, nein.
The danger of going for the run back is that it might happen like it did last time, that you more or less hit it on the nose. So I have an idea they weren't interested in the run back that time. He said just let's make sure this guard finally goes, which it does. So not too many guards in play anymore. There's just that one long yellow. I don't think that will have an impact later. That's too wide really to protect a game-winning shot. So nice tidy job from Schwaller's team.
Un po' spostata sul centrale eventualmente.
Italy then want to put that guard back. But Michael Brunner just removed.
Linea ok. Linea buona.
2 più.
Linea buona. Solo 2. Linea buona.
Seems like everyone's happy with it. Joel says the line's nice and the sweepers seem happy with the weight.
Alright, okay. Yep, yep. Oh,
And then now that it started to curl, just finish it off. Really nice show there from Amos. Great work.
No? No. Als je nog niet zit, zie ik dat wel. No.
L'ultimo tiro, cosa facciamo? Se rimaniamo queste due qua. Come round? Sì, sì.
Same shot being asked for then from Michael Brunner. Again, I'm not sure they're interested in the run back because they're wary that they might leave a guard hanging around. Indeed, just making sure that that guard goes. I think at the moment, Schwaller will quite fancy outdrawing that red. That's why the red that's in the 8 foot there, that's why Italy really wanted it to be a little bit closer to the middle, more like in the 4 foot circle. But at the moment, with Schwaller's last shot, he is likely to be facing that red that's in the 8 foot, a guard in front of it. And then Schwaller can come around that guard and land it in the 4 foot for the game. So that's looking probable at the moment, but let's see. That's why they're not too concerned about going for the run back. They're just making sure the guard keeps disappearing.
Linea, linea.
Linea buona, linea buona, linea buona. Stai sopra Gozza. Stai sopra. Linea buona. Forse da finire un po', Garano.
Maar je gaat nog gespeeld zo.
Sì, bisogna finire giù. Sì, convinto.
They're saying, yeah, let's finish it.
Alle met die drie, hè?
That didn't curl quite as much as Amos's, and now Yannick can see the red that's in the house.
Split center. Ja.
However, if Schwaller goes for the red that's in the house, he is giving Joel a chance to use that centre guard. So this is still the right shot, even though you can see that red almost completely that's in the house. This is the correct shot. If Schwaller removed the red that's just on the left of Michael Brunner as we look at it, then Joel would go straight round that centre guard and right to the middle. So this is the correct shot still. And then whatever Joel does with his last shot, Schwaller's life should be easier. So again, that shot looks quite fancy, but the problem is they've left the guard exactly where Joel put it in the first place, and now... Yeah, sorry, says Schwaller, he doesn't like that shot because they've left that centre guard. It doesn't matter that it's now yellow. That's exactly what Joel needed, was a mistake from Schwaller, and now he's got one chance with his last shot to go around that centre stone and cover the hole, and that will put a whole lot of pressure on Schwaller's last stone. One stone each to come then in this semi-final here at the the Champéry Masters.
Linea un po', linea.
They're sweeping hard for line.
Linea per passare. Linea deve andare.
We've seen a whole lot of stones catch a guard, but not this one. So they had to sweep it for line, but I think they were reluctant to sweep it for weight. Although, yeah, that's not a bad weight. So brush slap from Amos. They didn't quite get that right. They could, I don't know if they maybe needed a little bit more ice to really sink that stone behind the guard. And now Yannick has to draw better than that. We keep saying it, that's what he's there for. He expects to face a shot like this for the game. That's his job.
Delle guardie sicuro.
Linie.
He said line out of hand, but looks okay so far.
Nur Länge, nur Länge. Nur Länge.
Linie super.
Alles ruhig. Lauf noch grad.
13-0.
Yeah, line's plenty. No trouble there. I think he's got it.
Clean it, clean it.
That's a great shot, Yannick Schwaller. Bravo. Look at that. He covers the hole. So great fight back from Team Schwaller. They must have wondered if they were staring defeat in the face. Yeah, yes, yeah. A head shake from Romana Meyer. That was a struggle. That was a really good fight from Yannick Schwaller. So join us back again. That game ran on a bit, and in less than an hour at 12:30 we have the final, which will be Yannick Schwaller against Team Jungen. So thank you for joining us for the semi-final, and we'll see you later. Bye for now. The third time I've seen Joel's team about to get to the final and then not.
They played really good, but mostly now and in all these tournaments at the end, in the last rocks they struggle.
Yes, you're quite right, yeah.
The 6, 7s, 8s and...